Hello, and welcome to our program Where God Weeps, a program where we talk about the situation of the suffering church around the world. Today we are going to consider Zimbabwe, a country of 12.5 million which continues to struggle under the dictatorial leadership of Robert Mugabe. Mr Mugabe, a former guerrilla leader, won elections following independence from Britain in 1980. In its first decade, the country experienced growth, but the economy began to decline in the 1990s. In 2000, Mr Mugabe launched his controversial land reform program. Farm production plummeted, unemployment skyrocketed, and the currency went into freefall. The regime brutally suppressed any opposition. In 2008, a power-sharing agreement had hoped to improve the situation. However, sadly, this agreement is stagnating, if not collapsing. The political disintegration has again raised fear over the country's future with rising poverty, the inaccessibility of food, and an unemployment rate of over 90%. To tell us more, it is my great privilege to speak to Father James Alenyi of the Chinhoyi diocese in Zimbabwe. Father James, thank you for being with us here today in our program.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to be with you also.
Father James, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Were you raised in a traditionally Catholic family?
Yes, I was brought up in a family of 6, and my parents they are traditional Catholics from Malawi, and as you know, people from Malawi are very Catholic.
Your decision to become a priest, was it something that came early, or when did you have a sense of your vocation?
As I saw quite a number of priests who were working in our parish, and also when I came to know of local diocesan priests who were coming also to work in our parish and visiting us at home, I became so inspired, and I thought, yeah, this is the way I should just offer myself.
And this was something your parents were happy with?
It was a struggle because I am the first son,
with
the boy child in the family, so they were expecting quite a lot from me. So even immediately after my studies, I had to go and teach a bit.
So the obligations as the eldest son, just to be clear, the eldest son is the one who carries the family line.
Yes, he's like the breadwinner in the family. So to just lose him like that, my parents and I do not let go easily. So it was a challenge for me in the beginning, but I kept on knocking and knocking up until they said, "Oh, yes, you can go."
And then now they're proud.
Now they are proud to have their son as a priest, you know.
Father, you are coming from the Chinhoyi diocese, and the greatest proportion of income comes from agriculture. Can you tell us a little bit about the day-to-day reality of the people living in your diocese?
It is true that people in Zimbabwe, especially in our diocese, they survive so much from farming. And each and every season, when they harvest something, that is where they get their income for the whole year, meaning to say maybe once in a year, that's when they get their income. In the event that their season is so poor,
for lack of rains,
and even lack of inputs and lack of equipments to use in the farm, in their fields, the result will be that their harvest will be so poor. So it means to say they have nothing to sell to the market, to take to the market. This will also affect their income. So their day-to-day living is that many of them, they are living below the poverty datum line. They have no money to survive on, although we are using the US dollar now as our currency in Zimbabwe. But to get even a single dollar, especially for these people, for our people in Chinhoyi diocese, is just difficult because the season will be very bad for them.
Would it be one meal a day, and what kind of meals would we be talking about, just as an example?
Basically, we survive on 3 meals a day. But because of not having people or families are surviving on 1 meal a day, that is if they can afford that meal. Usually at the end of the day, so that they can try to endure the whole of the night, hoping to get up another way to the other day.
Is famine a daily reality?
Yes, every year in many regions, in many of our areas like Chitsungo, like Marymount, especially Mzarabani area, people are not harvesting anything. And also in Makonde area, people are not harvesting anything because they don't have the inputs, they don't have the equipments, they don't have even the resources to help them to go into effective farming that can sustain their families.
This is curious because Zimbabwe was once known as the bread basket of Africa. You even exported food to Zambia and to South Africa. Why is it so today that agriculture has been so disabled, if you will?
As we all know that most of our farms were taken away from the whites. Yes, this was something that had to be done in one way or another so as to bring like the equitable distribution of the land.
It was under Mugabe's land reform program.
Yes, it was done under the land reform program. But maybe the major challenge was on the way how it was done. Although it was a necessary move, it was a fact. But we have to differentiate between facts and emotions. There were too much emotions that were employed, and those emotions destroyed or paralyzed the whole agricultural system. And as a result, now we cannot become, there's no way we can become a breadbasket for the region or for Africa when almost 3/4 of the farms are underutilized.
You mentioned earlier inputs, the lack of machinery, the lack of ability. One of the challenges also would be the lack of seeds and the reality, if I understand correctly, that when the people become so hungry, in fact, instead of planting the seeds, they eat the seeds. Is this something that's still continuing on in Zimbabwe?
It is still continuing, and even let me clarify things even more clear here, to make things more clear to you. Yes, the government talk of distributing seeds or inputs to farmers, but that is politicized. And usually many of those people who get the seeds should be or are people from who support Mugabe. These are the people who get the seeds. And some of them, even if when they get the seeds, they take it to the market, they sell that seed, they will sell the seeds, they will sell the fertilizers. And the majority of the people who do not support him, they go without seeds, they go without fertilizers, they go without even the equipments, even the funds to help them go into the fields. And as a result, even though we can get a better season, still more we are somewhat like affected already. We are already defeated because many people do not have the seeds, many people do not have the fertilizers, and some even go to the extent of taking the seeds for their daily meals because it's a question of trying to balance things here. I've got a 50 bag. I've got a sack of seeds here. So I've received some seeds from the government, and my family has nothing to eat today. What can I do? The only way is to make use of what is available, and what is available will be the seeds. And as a result, there will be nothing to take to the fields.
The ones who are most affected are naturally the children, and there have been a generation of street children growing up, and now these children are giving birth to another generation of children, of street children. Can you tell us about this, and what can the church do in these questions?
Yes, if you go into Harare now, you find quite a lot of people in the streets, having their families in the streets, a clear sign that they are trying to run away from their homes where there is nothing, and they are trying to they come into the streets where they will be begging for money. We are truly developing another kind of people who are just homeless, who have no values. I think there is quite a lot that the church can do for these people, integrating them into communities, like into orphanages and other places where the people are taken away from, withdrawn from the streets and be helped to receive even education in terms of being helped to realize what their values are, being helped also even to go to school and to appreciate even that they can face the challenges in a different way. And the church can even help them by showing them the way that it does not matter how difficult life has just turned out to be for them, but through struggle we can come to realize better families.
You mentioned education, and I want to touch on this briefly because Zimbabwe used to have one of the highest literacy rates in Africa. And the question today is now that the schools are suffering and schools are being closed for a lack of teachers. The teachers are not being paid and they're leaving. Can you tell us a little bit about the situation of education now in Zimbabwe?
Our education sector has really collapsed as we are speaking now. Teachers are not being paid, and teachers also in rural areas, they are running away because they are becoming victims of political violence. There's no way you can go out and teach children of people who are beating you or who are forcing you to vote for a party that you don't like. So as we are, our educational system has just gone down simply because for this reason that most teachers have left the country or they've decided not to be teachers at all. And there's also another form of living or survival that they have a strategy they have developed, whereby at school they just do a mediocre kind of a job, and they try to lure the children to come to their place, whereby they teach them what they call extra lessons, and get paid there. And this has just become their real survival, their money, which they are now using for their day-to-day survival. There isn't much they are receiving from the government, and this has actually affected the education system in Zimbabwe.
In fact, touching on this question of unregistered schools, many of these schools have in fact been opened in churches. I think in the Anglican Church they have a number of these schools that have opened inside the churches, and the government is coming and closing these one by one. Is this only affecting, for example, the Anglican community, or is the Catholic school also confronted with this problem?
Actually, let me say, unregistered schools are not only limited to Catholics or to Anglicans, but they are even schools for independent persons, individuals who have found it as a wiser idea to open such schools, and the government is going around closing them. And whether you have got your private school as an individual, or whether it's a private school by the Anglican Church, whether it's a private school by the Catholic Church, we are all suffering equally.
So the government is closing these unregistered schools, but in fact there's still no alternative for the students or for the teachers.
Yes, there are still no alternatives, because these private schools, that's where qualified teachers have gone to, because they are being paid well there. There is no alternative in such a situation. Once you close a school where people were benefiting very immensely, and you have no mechanism to integrate the people the following day, then it means we are already creating a difficult situation for ourselves.
I think last year about 25,000 teachers left the country. Generally 2 million Zimbabweans have, if you will, voted with their feet, and they've left the country. They've gone to Botswana, they've gone to South Africa. Can you tell us a little bit about this brain drain leaving Zimbabwe, and what is the impact on the professional life in Zimbabwe?
It's true that we have lost quite a number of teachers, not only teachers, nurses, even engineers, experts in various fields. What has remained home is equally a mediocre kind of expertise that we have. Many teachers are in South Africa, some are in Botswana, doctors are in England, in different parts of the world. They've run away from the country because of political violence, because of economic hardships. And what we have eventually is just a situation whereby we are trying to make do with whatever is available. Whether you get a qualified teacher or not, whether you get a professional medical person or not, for us it's no longer an issue. What we need, at least by the end of the day, are basic services, whether they are good or bad. People are no longer checking on that so much, because we've lost quite a lot of professional persons into South Africa, into Botswana, into England, into America, and all the other parts of the world.
With all of these troubles, how would you define the national psyche of the people? Are the people depressed? Are they resigned? Or is there still hope? How do you judge the national psyche, if you will?
It is very difficult to come up with a one word to define that. People, quite a number, they've lost hope. And there's a lot of individualism that is now developed in the country, whereby if I am able to survive or to make my own way, my own means of making money, it means I don't care about what the other persons. So it's just a mixed bag. Quite a lot of people have lost hope in the whole situation we are living in. Some have hope that maybe one day nature will take its course, and I don't know what we mean by nature will take its course, but we are just waiting for something to happen.
At the moment you have a unity government with Morgan Tsvangirai as well as Robert Mugabe. What can we say has been a benefit of this unity coalition?
In the first place, personally I call it a marriage of convenience between Morgan Tsvangirai and the President Robert Mugabe, between the two parties mainly. It is a marriage of convenience because one party lost the real elections in March and went over to force its way into power. The situation then led to a total collapse of the country, be it in the social or economic facets of the country. The unit government came into play. Yes, it has helped quite a lot in that now if you go into Zimbabwe, you don't have empty shelves. You can have some basic commodities from the shops.
It also stabilized the currency.
Yes,
from
it has
hyperinflation.
It has stabilized. Actually, I should not say that it has stabilized the currency because we don't have our own currency now. But eventually, we came up with a decision to have the American dollar or the South African rand, the Botswana pula. That was the result of the unity government. But if you go deeper into the unity government, you find that there is a lot of fighting. It's a ship that is sailing, but with a lot of problems within.
In fact, Mugabe has recently said that the coalition government is no longer really necessary, and he is calling for new elections. The last time there were elections, there was a certain amount, if not great violence, before the elections actually occurred. Are you afraid that this might happen again?
As we are speaking now, there is a lot of violence that is happening in Zimbabwe. We should not say that maybe if we are to go again to the elections, we have a lot of violence, because as we are speaking now, a month ago, President Mugabe went over to call for the end to violence as he was opening the parliament.
Yes.
But as he was making such a
he said
speech,
zero tolerance for violence.
As he was talking of zero tolerance on violence, his people, his party supporters were beating out some people outside. So you can tell that we are actually for us, it's not a question of saying that we are afraid of the elections because there will be a lot of violence, because there's already a lot of violence. As we are speaking now, it is not reported. That is the major problem.
In fact, there was an action of a peaceful demonstration, of Peace to Save Zimbabwe demonstration, which was broken up with violence. And then another, in fact, a Catholic priest, Father Mark Riedemann, if I say that correctly, he also spoke very openly about the need for peace and was arrested following this. So what signs are these for you? I mean, they must be actually ominous signs for you.
These are all signs of a lawless country, a country that has no freedom of expression, a country whereby one cannot express his or her opinion.
The South African bishops have spoken out recently very openly. I'd like to quote now the statement that they made. They have accused Robert Mugabe of perpetrating genocide, and they say, "We, the Catholic bishops of Southern Africa, call on Mugabe to step down immediately." Mugabe then responded later by saying, "I am confused by my own Catholic bishops," because Mugabe considers himself Catholic. Often Catholic bishops expose that they are not their own men, they are merely puppets of Western countries. I grew up in a Catholic church, but I am now totally frustrated by how these so-called men of God lie. All Catholic bishops are liars. They demonize my party every day. My question to you is, with these tensions growing, are the relations between the Catholic Church and the President starting to go sour?
Not to say that they are starting to go sour. The relations are sour already since since 2007, when the Catholic bishops wrote a powerful pastoral letter where God hears the cry of the oppressed. From that time, the Catholic Church has been victim of a lot of violence and suppression in many aspects. The President only wants people who support him. So the relationship have been sour, and they shall remain sour, because the work of the Church is the moral conscience of the society. It has to say the truth as it is. We have to help him also as a child of God. If he is really truly a Catholic, it is the right of the bishop to help him to know that where he is going wrong.
In fact, what you're saying now, these thoughts were already addressed by then Pope John Paul II, who spoke about the structures of sin in Zimbabwe. Can you tell us what do you mean, or what is your understanding of these words by Pope John Paul II, the structures of sin?
I may not be so clear of what he was trying to imply by indicating or talking of the structures of sin, but we can bring in the aspect of violence, the open killing that is happening in Zimbabwe, the open torture, the amassing of property, where the property that is not yours and you go on just to grab it without discussing it with the persons concerned, and try to make open concessions that can help you to deal with the issue amicably. We can even talk of the people who are being displaced because of the same violence, or because of hunger and the hardships. When they go into town, when they go into Harare, what happens to those street children? What is happening for their day-to-day survival? Some even turn into prostitution because they want to survive. And that alone becomes a structure of sin. And the very fact that people do not want to be corrected, it's another great structure of sin. That I'm doing something that is wrong, and people tell me that this is wrong, and I wouldn't want to listen to them. That becomes a structure of sin.
Father, you've spoken very openly with us here. I imagine you're speaking as openly at home. Are you not afraid?
Well, for me, I just have to say, I don't have to go out hunting for the crown of martyrdom. That's the first point. But the issue is, the truth should just be said. I'm not afraid. We just have to say the truth where and when it is necessary. The consequences of what happens thereafter, I leave it to God. He will decide. If what I say is not pleasing, is not palatable to anyone, I just accept it just like that, as long as it is the truth that I believe in.
Father, with all of these troubles, with all of these challenges, do you despair, or are you hopeful? And if you are hopeful, in what are you hopeful?
We have hope that things will change. We have hope for a better Zimbabwe. We have hope for the end of violence. We have hope in all aspects of our lives. It doesn't mean that when we are suffering, then we have to despair. No. We continue to struggle. We continue to fight. We continue to knock up until the doors are opened. And our main aspect of hope is based on the very life that our Lord Jesus Christ taught us. He brought the aspect of hope. And we have to be, like as a priest, I have to be a champion of hope to the people. I don't despair. Even if when I've failed, I don't despair. I have to look up and actually say, yes, there is tomorrow. I can stand up from where I am and march and go to where my Lord is. Although there's a lot of violence, although there's a lot of suffering in Zimbabwe, which is not reported. Like now, I would say, although the world has kind of closed its eyes so much on Zimbabwe because of the statements that our president utters to Europe or to America or to any other parts of the world, we don't despair. Although they have forgotten about us, we don't despair. We'll continue marching silently up until we achieve what we are looking for.
And Father, this brings me to the question, what is it that you're looking for? And what can we do?
We are looking for a peaceful Zimbabwe. We are looking for a situation where people will be free to go out and say what they have to say, even though what they are saying is not something I may not want to hear today. But in as much as they are saying the truth, people should be free to go out and say it and have someone to listen to them. That much we are looking for that. And we are appealing for the world that it should come and see. The world should come and see what is happening in Zimbabwe. The world should listen to the sufferings of the people in Zimbabwe. Yes, if finally we say it is the people of Zimbabwe who should bring in the change, who should bring in the new life, it is true. But we have to remember that they cannot do it by themselves without someone listening to them. Just listening to the suffering voice, it gives hope for someone who is suffering that yes, there are people who are listening to me. I'll continue talking up until even the people I'm staying with finally listen to what I'm saying.
Father James, thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me and for listening to what I have been saying.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today on our program. And if you'd like to know how you can help the Christians, the people of Zimbabwe, I would encourage you to look at the contact information at the end of this program. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.